Hello, everybody. Thank you all for joining us on lecture 5 of a game production masterclass. And today with us is Miha Vrhunc. Today we will have a topic about early idea testing. And before we start introducing Miha and before he will start talking about how to early test ideas and how to do that, we will just do some public announcements. In the following days, I will be sending you back the feedback for homework 3 from Andrei Kovacevic, and Matejenko will start on your homework that you sent us, and you should expect it in next week or so to have it review, something like that. And again, before we start, I will again like to thank all our sponsors and partners on this project. First of all, I would like to thank Center za kreativnost, and this project also part of Partnership Network Platform, and is co-financed and co-funded by European Union and European Regional Fund, and also by Republic of Slovenia. And then we have our sponsors from the games industry, Outfit 7 and Triternion, and also our partners who helped us develop this program from the beginning, Reveris and Slovenia Games. So this is it for the official announcements. I would just again like to remind you that this whole lecture will be divided into two parts. First, we'll have 1 hour of lecture from Miha. Then he will give out the homework, and in the end, we will have a Q&A session with Miha. So please stick to the end and ask him some interesting question. And yes, and as always, I'll also post link to the notes where you can share your notes, and in between talk write down some interesting stuff. And without further ado, I will first introduce Miha, and then I will give him the word. So Miha Vrhunc has been in the game dev industry for 10 plus years, mostly specialized in the mobile game dev industry. And he is co-founder and artist at Tricky Tribe, and he has been building his skill set, or let's say portfolio of his skills, through doing different stuff, doing 2D, 3D, modeling, rigging, and so on. And I think I'll just give him the word and that he just starts talking, because he has a lot of cool stuff to share. So Miha, go ahead.
Okay, Rok, thank you. Hello, everyone. So today I'm going to be talking about idea testing, various tips and tricks we learned from lots of mistakes we did, and we learned a little bit useful stuff as well. So just a short introduction. As Rok mentioned, I started as a 3D artist, but since we're a small team, many things had to be done. So I filled various roles, helping with mock-up videos, with concept art, even helping with creating ads, and sometimes level design, and sometimes icon or two, some VFX. So this is our company, Tricky Tribe. Our most known projects are Tinker Island, launched in 2016, and ASMR Slicing, hyper casual game. And this is us. This is our team. Now it grew even a little bit more, but there used to be 4 of us. And yeah, just a short introduction of my projects. So it goes way back in 2013 when we started really focusing on mobile, working on Tinker Island, working as 3D artist, environment artist on different projects. And lately, in the last couple of years, I've been focusing on creating hyper casual games in the studio as artist, but also as a game designer, helping with ideas, concepts, And yeah, we've done quite a few of them. I'll be showing some of them. And just short info about what software I use. So I primarily use Adobe products like Photoshop and After Effects predominantly. Cinema 4D for 3D needs, and of course, we do all our projects in Unity. So let's go. How to make a simple mobile game? Well, it's really simple. You come up with an idea, you created a prototype, you make basic marketing card, the screenshots, icon, and you release the game. Sounds easy, right? Yeah, it's easy and simple, but the issue is how to make a simple, profitable mobile game. That's where things get a bit different. So this is how it actually looks like if you want to make a profitable game. It basically consists of 2 cycles of testing. First is the idea testing, just dipping toes in the water with the idea to see the reaction of people, and then the actual retention testing and try to improve the game once you know that idea already has some potential. So it's a bit more complicated, and it requires sometimes killing ideas, killing games, but that's just the way it works if you really want to make something that returns your investment. So yeah, we'll be focusing on this today, testing the idea, CPI testing, and I'll be explaining some more details later. So the main risk of game development is that developing a game can take a lot of resources. It can take a lot of time, sometimes months or even years, and a lot of money and time can go into that, a lot of hard work, and sometimes people just don't react well to an idea that you might find really great. So there's a big risk of sacrificing a lot of time. So one solution to remedy this is to test the idea before you invest, before you go in and do all the great work. Just to take a step back, talking about ideas, I'm just going to have a short introduction about ideas in general. So you can really get a cool idea for a game anywhere. I don't know, playing board games or video games with friends, or brainstorming with people, with colleagues, browsing social media, or watching YouTube videos, or even if you're playing another game and you have an upgrade idea how you could make this idea even better. Maybe revisiting some retro old games that's becoming popular as well lately. And real life occurrences can be a great source as well. Thinking about how to create maybe a satisfactory experience into a game. With ideas, you basically have. I really like this term that Nintendo coined, red ocean, blue ocean strategy. And what it basically means is just difference between going into existing market where there's already a lot of fighting of very successful and popular products, or you try to really create something new, something non-existent. Here are the examples of 2 quite old games, but at one point they were something completely new, something completely different. The examples on the right. And both strategies have pluses and minuses. If you try to compete with something established, it's already a proven idea. That's great, but of course you have big competition. On the other hand, you can try making something unique that people always like, something unique, something new, but it may be harder to understand for people. So that's a pitfall. Well, deciding and discussing on idea, my recommendation is definitely discussing as much as possible in the team. Whether now if you're alone, that's different. But usually you're in a team, at least 2 people, and just discuss as much as possible and iterate on ideas. Sometimes in our team, somebody will come up with an idea, and another one that will hear it will get another idea out of the original idea. So it's always good to discuss as much as possible and to sketch things out. And the more defined the idea is, the better you can plan the development later. But there's a pitfall with just discussing. It can lead to very different interpretations. So you're describing something and your coworker will think about something else, but you won't really understand each other. So as they say, pictures tell more than 1,000 words. Moving pictures tell even more. So in our process of discussing ideas, we often create short mockups, 2D or 3D videos, because many times they can tell way more. You can describe an idea whole day, but if you just show a very short animation, even if it's badly done or just a series of images, they can tell a lot more about an idea. So talking about videos, we come to this. You probably know what I'm talking about. So these are some mobile ads, mobile game ads. We're all familiar with them. And the thing with video ads is that their role is not just selling the product, to you or trying to convince you to click on it, but they can be a great tool for testing an idea in an early stage. And that's basically what I'm going to be talking about today. Now, testing a video can be done in two main ways. One is CTR test, and another is a CPI test. And what's the difference? The difference is that in CTR test, you're mainly just wanting to see how many people will click on the video. So you see the initial interest. While with CPI test, you actually want to measure the player's activity in a game. So how much of viewers click on the ad and install the game, and then from those that install, you actually get also info about, let's say, day one retention, how many people return after day one, and stuff like that. So these are the main ways of testing idea. Now both have pluses and minuses. Testing CTR is very quick to produce because essentially you're making a fake gameplay video that you test. This can be done relatively quickly. But of course, the minus is that you don't actually get true feedback from players because there's the game is usually a very, very rough prototype that you wouldn't even want to show anybody. So usually it's you get the bad game feedback. While testing the CPI test, you actually, you get the response for players, but it can take some time to create a minimum viable product. So a game that is representable, even if it has just a couple of levels, you really need to make it good to the point where it's presentable, and it can take some more time, like at least a few weeks or a month or more. Just a few terms that you may or may not have heard. So CTR is click-through rate, the percentage of people that actually click on the ad when seeing it. And these are just some rough numbers we encountered when we were testing. So if you let's say launch an idea, launch a campaign on Facebook, and the CTR is, I don't know, 5%. That means 5% of people actually clicked on it. That's awesome. That's, you immediately know that, okay, we should work on that. And on the other hand is cost per install, CPI. This really tells you how much it costs to get player into a game. And of course, the lower it is, the easier it is to break even and make a profit. But it's very genre specific. So I've mostly been working in hyper casual, where we always try to aim for at least, I don't know, 40 cents. But even $2 and more can be a great CPI for hardcore games or mid-core games. Just to see kind of the ballpark where what are good numbers. And yeah, I'm just directly going to show you how we approach this thing. Let's say for we got the idea, we found an idea. We found a video on TikTok. Unfortunately, this presentation today is without sound, but sound is not as important as you might think, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about that as well. This is a TikTok video we found. Basically, there's a trend going on. It's called gravestone cleaning, tombstone cleaning. There's a account on TikTok where a woman films herself cleaning graves, tombstones, and there's a certain satisfaction watching how, you know, the whole process, how she's cleaning the gunk of it and then spraying it with cleaning agent and everything. It just looks nice, and yeah, in the end, when you see the clean tombstone, it's really satisfying, you know, seeing the difference before and after. So here you see the process on the right. Okay, that's the finished one. It's really, it looks nice. It looks nice, and the thing is actually really viral. It has millions of views on TikTok and Instagram. There's a certain satisfaction that is there, and when we search on stores, we haven't seen that there would be any game out of it yet. And we decided, okay, we could risk a week, let's say, of trying to make this, try to make a test out of this. And would it work as a game? You know, maybe. So we went into creating a CTR test, and this looks just like that. So I made a very basic scene in 3D, checked some video references of her videos, and focused on first few seconds. So I was just trying to simulate scraping the gunk and leaves off, spraying it with cleaner agent, washing it off, and showing the sparkly clean tombstone. And of course, I added some nice liquid effects. And for finishing touches, I also added the animated hand that you can see here, and a little bit of story in the end, you'll see. So I'll just play the video of the final ad. yeah, so this is the ad that I've done. Now for marketing purposes, these are some video specifications that need to be met. So we made 6 versions, 3 different resolutions, and 3 different lengths of video for 30-second, 15-second, and 1 10-second video. And these are the channels where we tested. So we launched a campaign with our partner, Crazy Labs, on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. And just one thing that I learned fairly recently is that TikTok, putting campaigns on TikTok could be really beneficial, because up to 40% of players might only be on TikTok, especially newer, younger generation of younger audience for today's games, and in general prefers TikTok over other social networks. So we ran the test. It took us 6 days of production for this ad and some other marketing assets, and the result is good. The result was pretty good. Unfortunately, I can't remember the CTR right now. Sorry about that, but the result was so good that we thought about trying to improve it, trying to actually make a really good prototype, because prototype that we launched was so bad I don't even want to show it. But as I say, for CTR test, that's all you need, really. But unfortunately, what happened is a very similar game just occurred in the store. So since we had some other ideas as well, and yeah, this was already a made game, not just a CTR test. So we just decided to not pursue the battle of trying to make it better. But that's just a short introduction of how CTR tests can look like. Basically, we needed 6 days for this. If we tried making a nice game prototype, we would, from my estimation, need at least a month of really trying to create a cool game with a couple of levels and all these simulated effects as an actual game. So we saved some time here. Another idea, there was an idea of making a game, a simple hyper-casual simulation game out of wrapping gifts. So again, so we did this again relatively quickly. I'm sorry you can hear the sound. It's nothing really special, but it adds a little bit. And the result was not good, not terrible. The result was somehow average. And definitely we thought about trying an improved version. So we did that. It looks like this. I worked on making the background prettier. I populated assets in the back so it looks nicer, more colorful, and prettier in general. But the result was actually, it performed worse. It just has additional information that don't really help. And this is what I'm going to be talking about today. One of the most important things today, and that is art efficiency. So what art efficiency really means is that every visual element has a purpose. So there's no unneeded information on your screen, and this really became slowly our guideline for creating videos. This what I'm going to show you is a video of a game that we made, a prototype. Just watch. again, a hyper casual game where you have to drive character left and right and not allowed to fall into the hole. You have to basically avoid obstacles so they don't take you into the hole. And yeah, this is a project we did. And during the initial stage, we made two videos. We made two ad videos for testing the idea. This is basically the same game, so the same mechanics. You're just swiping left and right to avoid obstacles so that obstacles don't take you into the hole. Just the visuals look quite different. And just think a little about which one you think performed better. So the left one is really simple one, the right one is very colorful one. It looks fun and all. But the thing is, when we tested these were results. The left one performed better. And why is that? Well, if we go into the black and white, it's going to be a bit more apparent. Basically, the contrast on the left is way better. The contrast on the left is you clearly see where the figure is. There is less obstacles. The background is much lighter, and you immediately see the bad obstacles. While on the right, it's a big mess of visual information. And also the colors, the use of colors. Red is bad. If you look on the left screen, you as a player are the good guy. Green, and everything else has these subtle colors. And what I did here was I didn't just desaturate the image, but I actually did this. And this is a trick I use not just when trying to create ads, but also when I'm trying to create any art in games. You just create a black layer in any imaging software, and you put the overlay, the color overlay setting. This way you will see the actual light and dark values, because just desaturating will take some of the it will change and distort light and dark values. And using this black layer technique, you can really check the contrast in your game, especially for trying to create a good first impression. Another example, this is while actually doing the prototype, where I also use this technique. Just taking a screenshot of your game and putting it in Photoshop, creating a black layer, and going into overlay will really get you the actual contrast that you have. And trying to improve the game, trying to improve the visuals, it's just a cycle of doing the changes, making a screenshot, and using this black overlay layer. And soon enough, I went from here to there. So just a couple of details were added. Really, fog was added, some simple color changes, new skybox. Quick and small changes at the right places can make a big effect in the end. And if you compare in black and white version, you can see that the focus is now much more on the bike, on where it has to be, and where you actually have to look at, while the background is much dimmer. There's much less contrast in the background, where you don't want it. You don't want to grab your focus too much. So this was really quickly made, but visually it really looks different. Just small changes at right places. Another example is trying to convey movement in games. For example, this is the actual game. This is the same game. Due to some technical difficulties, we couldn't use detailed texture that can give you a really nice effect of speed. So we needed some reference of movement, just moving on this big solid color of grass of green doesn't really give you a good feeling of movement. So what we did is just repopulated a little bit of stones, low poly stones, and they immediately give you great reference point of movement. So art efficiency, meaning small things at right places, can really make a big difference. Sometimes just a simple texture can make all the difference. Example here. Or, for example, like this. Just a small, subtle, tileable texture can make all the difference. And of course, this is very, very simple, showcase. But let me show you this. This is from one of the analysis of games from Voodoo Games. Voodoo is a big publisher on hyper-casual, and they were presenting their analysis on how they improved a certain game. And this is the same game. You can see on the left and the right, not such a big of a difference. Just a little bit of texture to emphasize the movement, and the CPI was practically 50% lower. So that can really show that small differences at right places can make a big difference in the end. In this case, lower CPI means that game has much better potential to be profitable. One thing to consider when making videos is also being mindful of video compression that happens. So, for example, here on the left side, you see, let's say, a screen of game where texture grass is very up to realistic scale, while on the right you see scale that is sacrificed, that is upscaled. So it doesn't look as realistic, but when you're going to make any kind of movement of camera, and when you're going to make an ad, the video on the left, details will be almost invisible, while on the right you will really see the movement of what's happening. Another thing about art efficiency is readability, and this goes not just for preparing cassettes for the video test, but also generally in game. It's encouraged to use symbols that are well known. It can really help with players exactly know what's going on. For, let's say, this is I think a good example. A medicine kit. Every fighting game has a medicine kit, and it's advisable to go for something that's immediately known, and everybody will immediately know what's that. The right thing could be, I don't know, a bad potion or something. It could lead to different interpretations. So it's advisable to try to stick with known symbols. Well, this is just a showcase of hyper-casual ideas we tested in recent years, and just to show you the ones that passed the CPI test. So yeah, the best approach is just to try as much as possible. Sometimes you can have an idea that you think is great, and wow, this is for sure, this is going to be super, everybody is going to like that, and you can really get bad results. And sometimes vice versa, you think something is not that interesting, but actually viewers like it. So yeah, what we learned making video tests in recent years is making videos look prettier usually doesn't work. So what the mistake we often did is exactly as I mentioned, art efficiency. We went into the other direction, just adding information that may look pretty but doesn't really convey anything. Another thing we learned is nobody has time to read texts. Nobody. So try to explain your game video without text or with minimal text as possible. And yeah, there's no recipe for success. Try out as many ideas as possible. Of course, good ideas. Try to be selective as possible, again, with ideas themselves. And some general rules, I would say, that is good to stick to. So just remember, first few seconds are crucial. In first 3, 4, 5 seconds, you really have to, something interesting has to happen to really grab the attention of viewer. Simplicity and clarity can really help here, because people need at least a couple of seconds to really understand what they're watching, what's going on the screen. And definitely feeling and enjoyment of game you want to portray should be recognizable. I would avoid making very short cuts. So, taking a lot of different clips and just showing them one after another very shortly. It just confuses the viewer from our experience, and prioritize understandability of the gameplay. Let's say, for example, you can have a game where there's a lot of explosions happening, and it may look interesting, but putting that in the beginning can backfire as well, because okay, I see explosions, but I'm not really seeing what's the game, how you play this game. I would also avoid faked content, like putting some nice nice 3D rendered stuff that doesn't really show the gameplay itself. Another thing is reducing the unnecessary information like UI menu and things like that, because these are just distractions that take away the focus. And as already shown, the animated hand, it can be very helpful to show unconventional controls. Like if you're trying to make a game with a new and unique mechanic, that is definitely very helpful. So in the end, yeah, simple and art-efficient videos win the crowd. I would also like to talk a little about creating actual prototype tips, and I'm just gonna go over it. These are just tips that we learned from making lots of hyper-casual prototypes. One is that using asset store is definitely very recommended. It's a quick and affordable way to get good prototype art. And sometimes it can be a challenge finding different packs or different kinds of assets that you need in exactly the right style. But sometimes even if style is similar and you make some color corrections, just color correction can go a long way. In the end, the important thing is that it all combines nice with lighting and controls and VFX. And yeah, we prefer Unity Asset Store simply because from our experience, assets there are really well made, usually very optimized, but you have countless other asset stores. And I would advise investing in creating beautiful custom art when you already know game has potential. Unfortunately, even great art can't save a mediocre gameplay. It happened to us a couple of times that we really invested in creating beautiful game art, and we were sure that this is it, one of our best works. But in the end, players even reviewed that, yeah, the visuals are great, it looks well designed and everything, but people just didn't want to keep returning into the game. So focus on gameplay, definitely. Another tip that we learned creating hyper casual is spreadsheet iterating. It's very simple. Just means that you put the variables that define the game into a spreadsheet, where you can define different levels on your own desires, and you can really experiment quickly this way. And basically, the whole team can experiment with their own style. Like I would create my own level, and I'll try my own numbers. And yeah, experimentation is the key, really. It's advisable to play with extreme values, because sometimes you can accidentally find something that works great. And what happened to us is actually we were working on a game. This is called Hyperspeed prototype, and we put settings in spreadsheet. And what happens is that what happened is there was a glitch, and yeah, some little things behave differently like we expected, and it actually gave us a new idea, and I'm going to show you later. So this is hyperspeed. You just control left and right the green character, and the white part expands, and with it you try to catch other white parts to get points. And when you get enough points, you go into this hyperspeed, like Pac-Man mode, where you go through everybody. Very, very simple and abstract racing game, basically. But there was a there was a glitch in spreadsheet, and what started happening is our own character started, doing this, scaling up on one axis. And at first it was, of course, okay, this is a glitch. But what happened is we got an idea for another game. We started talking about, hey, what if we would make this game where you try to squeeze with the car in the traffic? And this from this game, another one was born. So this is a squeezy car, and yeah, what you're doing is you swipe the finger up to go to squeeze yourself, but you also go faster this way. So you're finding a compromise between going fast and being agile. And it's actually one of the most fun hyper casual games, in my opinion, that we did. Unfortunately, we weren't able to really scale it, but the players liked it as well. Retention was solid. So yeah, this is how squeezy car game looks like. Basically, we came with this idea as a result of spreadsheet accident. So, and just to show you the ad, how the ad looked like, the CPI for this game was about 30 cents, I think, with this ad. Another thing I would like to talk is about level design. From our experience, I would definitely recommend concentrating on quality rather than on quantity. We even had examples when tests with just one level can show promise. And you would be surprised to see how many players are willing to play the same level over and over again. One tip definitely is time yourself when playing a level. We found that levels that are too long, especially over 1 minute, can be problematic. People prefer shorter levels. I may be biased because we're mostly focusing on hyper casual, but just maybe somebody will find this useful. And yeah, the difficulty, that can be a big thing. It's very easy to make game too difficult. It's very recommended that whatever game you're working on, whatever idea you're working on, and prototype in whatever stage it is, give it to somebody that haven't seen it before and just don't explain anything, just observe what they're doing. And you might find out that people don't even understand how to play it. That has been our experience quite a few times. And the success rate of a level can really can be very different for different genres. Even in hyper casual simulation games where there's a lot of emphasis just on instant gratification, players usually like to have very easy levels, while on some action games they like to have more challenge. In the end, it's all about balancing, but just to keep in mind that players don't just want increase in difficulty, but especially they want diversity in challenges. That's what we're finding out. So yeah, this is the way that we usually started making game more difficult when we started with hyper casual, and we learned that people actually prefer this. So a little bit of challenge, a little bit of plateau, and a little bit of challenge again, maybe one very easy level, one very interesting level, and again a little bit of difficulty. They just want yeah, diversity mostly. And one testing tip for difficulty is try to play in situations where your players would play. So that means if you're trying to make a mobile game, try playing your game in the evening on the couch when you're tired, and you'll see that you have much less tolerance for any little thing that could trouble you. So yeah, all in all, in a good game, players understand why they lost and will want to try again, while in the badly designed game, players will feel stupid, and that's the last thing you want, because players will just go out and find something else. And last but not least, with games, it's all about gratification. Now people, of course, want a little bit of difficulty, just a little bit of excitement, but nailing that ratio is really important. If players have to go through difficult levels and they get a very little reward for it visually, like they won't play for long. And what I'm talking about reward is nice VFX and nice haptics, just feel good of the core game. And for the end, I'm just gonna present that time that we really got it right with ASMR slicing. Now, hyper casual has different genres, and one of those are simulation games that take ideas from real world and try to kind of gamify or make the satisfaction from the real world an actual game experience. And they're very popular, but usually the retention is not that great. And we decided we were going to try something like that. So one day on Instagram, I found a video. Just I follow a lot of 3D artists and motion graphic designers on Instagram, and I found this video that looked really satisfying. And I showed it to the team, and we discussed, hey, what if we would try making a game about something like this? So we went into analysis, and we actually found that there's a whole trend on YouTube with kinetic sand cutting videos. They have relaxing sounds and the visuals that there's certain satisfaction and relaxation when watching this. So we talked, what if we try making a game out of this? And so we did. This is just the initial concept that I did, the mockup. Very basic, very simple. Just a couple of ideas what you could cut in the camera angle and what's going on. And our developer did this, a simple prototype. So we just found a framework where you can actually take a 3D object, put it in the game, and actually cut it, and you get these nice slices that bend. And we went into it, and in a couple of weeks, I think 2 weeks and a little bit more, we had a prototype ready for a simple test. And this is the actual video we tested. Very simple, practically no text, just showing objects and the cuts happening. Very subtle sound of cutting, no music at all. 12 levels that repeat randomly, and all you do is you swipe with your finger up and down to cut it. And there's nice haptics happening. Yeah. And developer's famous words were, "This isn't even a game," and he's right. It's an instant gratification app. But yeah, we ran this test, and the result was we were blown away, because after 2 years of experimenting with hyper casual ideas, this was by far the lowest number we've ever seen, and 55% retention on day one. So that was just mind blowing, and we immediately know that, okay, this idea is something to write home about. So we really went into it fully, and the game is still, after 2 years, is still live and well, and we're doing updates. It has over 100 million downloads. So yeah. So just to recap, the whole thing, testing with videos, with advertising videos, first 4 seconds are crucial. Controls and goal of the game has to be instantly recognizable. I would definitely recommend that wacky and polished videos are a better bet than maybe polished but less interesting. Less is more. So try to declutter and keep it as simple as possible. Just take away all the information that you think is not important to really convey the gameplay. And good use of colors and contrast is important. Basically the last thing, observe what works for others. If you see an ad, it's very likely a successful one. So just whatever genre you're creating game for, just check what ads are popular, what kind of ads you're seeing on your phone. Depends on what you're playing as well, again, but just try to see and what works for others. And yeah, thank you very much. And just homework. So for your homework, describe your game with 2 images or a 5-second clip, and really try to not use the text. Identify important visual elements and ditch the rest out of it. Now, breaking into 3 main colors is not prerequisite, but it's I would advise it. For example, character, enemy, background. Just try to use colors as a help to simplify visuals for the viewer, so the viewer quickly understands what's going on, what's good part in the scene, what's a bad thing in the scene. And use the black overlay effect that I showed, and just generate a before and after image of what you have learned out of it. Maybe you have already really topped the contrast, and or maybe there's going to be a big difference. Yep. So
thank you very much, Miha. That was quite an insight into the early testing. And yeah, now we're just gonna go to our questions. And yeah, first question was when you're talking about trends and trend chasing in between your presentation. So the question was, would you think this kind of trend chasing often results in a saturated markets like this?
Yeah, that's it's a good point. The trick is finding trends just as they're starting. When there's one trend and everybody's doing game out of it, it's definitely, I think, a bit late to joining the bandwagon. But if you catch a trend just before it went really viral, or when it's just starting to become viral, that's the best time to. But generally, I would say that just following trends is when there's already a few successful games on a certain thing. There's really I think it's a bad bet just copying.
Okay, thank you. And the next question was, where do you send users after they see these videos? To another game of yours or somewhere else?
Is this meaning with CTR tests?
It's follow-up. So explanation was, my question is only relevant for test videos ads of a game that doesn't exist yet.
What we do is we create a very rough prototype. That's just so it's something, basically. And usually you will get very bad reviews of it, because of course people don't like it. It's very rough, very badly done, just one level. But the important information you want to get here is just getting the CTR. So let's say you want to test one idea quickly, you create a CTR with a bad prototype. You get a good CTR, but the reviews are bad. That's okay. You got the CTR, just delete the game, and now that you know that you have an idea that people like, that if the CTR was really good, then you know you're onto something, and then you take your time and create a really good prototype with a bunch of cool levels, and you repeat the test maybe under another name, with another visuals, maybe.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is, good day. What is expected earnings from 10 million hyper casual downloads?
Good question. I don't know how to answer really. With average, let's say lifetime value on one user in hyper casual is more in cents than in dollars, or even parts of a cent. So 10 million can be, yeah. It really depends on the game. It really depends. But scaling up to 10 million already means that you're onto something, and it definitely has to have a low CPI. Or even if it has higher CPI, is if the LTV is higher, if the retention is really good, long-term retention. There are some games that have really good day 7. That means that players return, on the day 7, and that really amplifies the revenue from the ads inside. With hyper casual, you often lose a lot of players in the first 7 days. So,
but if you have like let's say maybe estimate like what would it be, like if you just go like kind of like theoretical numbers, like how much would it be?
I'm really bad at math, so I'm gonna use a calculator. How did you say 10 million, right?
10 millions, yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna use a calculator.
And maybe you can like explain which kind of like what numbers are we looking at, or like what are you like calculating?
10 million could be as much as 500,000, or 25,000. Yeah, 500,000 or half less maybe.
Okay, thanks. And next question is, do you work with the UX researchers?
Good question. We don't have a UX expert. That's actually one thing that could be beneficial. We have a process where we all kind of have experience in creating UX, so we help each other in the team, and whatever prototype we do, we show each other and try to get as much criticism as possible. But having a UX expert is definitely recommended thing. We just recently improved the revenue in one of our games significantly. We just one small UX tweak. So UX is very important. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And next question is, hey, great insight, thanks. At what CPI do you kill the prototype?
We usually, for hyper casual, if a prototype has CPI over $1.50, we usually kill it. We usually decide, okay, we're not trying to improve that. If it has around $1, and we like the idea, we would try it again, maybe one more time, and but really trying something, a different spin on the idea. From our experience, when we try to just making videos prettier, and we usually got the same result or even worse. So yeah, at around $1.50, we would say, okay, we kill this.
Okay, cool. And the next question is about the homework. Can you use any game for homework, or would this process only work with hyper casual one?
I think this could work for every game. Yeah, I think this would work for every game. Now, hyper casual games usually have a more simpler art than maybe some realistic mid-core games or hardcore games. But I think from what I've seen, all games in general have to have good contrast. It's kind of universal thing to have good contrast, and yeah, it's important for the video.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's universal.
Okay, perfect. And the next question is, can you explain what is the cost in a CPI?
Cost. Huh. Okay, cost is basically you, let's say you decide you're gonna run a Facebook campaign. You're gonna show, you want to show your ad to people, and you're gonna give $100 for this campaign, and this money is spent, and Facebook is showing through algorithms trying to find the right audience, and you will get a certain number of people that will actually click on this game and install the game, and the number of people that you get, yeah, from the number of people that you get, you will get the cost per click, basically cost per install, how much it cost you to actually get an install. So if you run a Facebook campaign for $100 and you only get one click of it, then you have a CPI of $100. So
Thanks. That was a good analogy. And next question is, do you use current successful games to channel users to your new games in any way? And the sub question is, maybe replace some ad mob ads with your own to save ad money.
Yeah, we do this with Tinker Island. We recently launched second game, Tinker Island 2, and since it's a similar audience, we actually show the Tinker Island 1 players. We show them ads for Tinker Island 2, and that's a good way to get basically players for free. But Tinker Island audience and hyper casual audience are very different. So we're not showing, for example, our hyper casual games to Tinker Island audience simply because probably most of them wouldn't really have interest for something like that.
Okay. And what about maybe like in some other hyper casual game that you advertise your own hyper casual game, right? Not in between like different genres, but like in between same genre, right? Do you know what I mean?
Aha, if we shown ad for our hyper casual game in
Yes.
one of our not really because to show the ads, it means the game is already scaled up. It's already the stats of the game are so great that you're already buying users and it is scaling up. So unfortunately, not really. No, we don't have let's say at the moment two really good hyper casuals that would where we would cross promo each other. But definitely that would be a good thing to do if you have a couple hyper casual successful hyper casual games on your account and you cross promo each other. That's definitely a good thing. Yeah. And what's happening? We launch hyper casual games with our partner, and they also show ads for their other hyper-casual games in our game, and they show ad for our game in their own in their different hyper-casual ads games. So the cross promo is working, but yeah, it's not us doing it really.
Okay, that's a good answer. Thank you. And next question is, do you believe that growth of the hyper casual market can be maintained, and is thus safe for developers to bet on for revenue, or is there a good chance of the bubble bursting in the next few years?
That's a good question, and I've been following hyper casual now for a couple of years, and every year are these discussions in the hyper casual world. But what's happening is that hyper casual is still growing. Actually, I just saw a presentation that last year the hyper casual genre was the only one really growing. So I guess, and what's happening is that female audience is growing, and also more and more older people are playing. So with hyper casual, your audience is really big, from I don't know, 6 years old to 60 years old plus. And what appears to be still growing, and nobody really knows what's going to happen, but so far it shows no signs of stopping really. What is happening is that hyper casual games are becoming a bit more complicated, but not for playing, but it just more and more like levels are more and more interesting. Today, if you play a hyper casual game, level 1, level 2 will be a different game, almost like packing a lot of games into one game, because players really like the diversity. While hyper casual games a few years back, often you would just have the same core loop from level to level. So they're becoming more complicated. That's what I'm observing.
Okay, perfect. That was really extensive analysis of this question. So next question is, this question like goes a little bit, is reference to like your answer, like that you gave the feedback. What UX change made the difference in the revenue? You were talking about when there was a question about the use UX researchers, and you were saying that you made them.
Actually, this just happened. We did an A/B test, and what we did is a very, very basic thing, and that is that we just popped a big play button, a big floating play button on the selection screen. We have a game that has a selection of levels, like a grid of small icons, and before that, it was kind of assumed that a player knows that tapping on one of those images, thumbnails, will get into a level. But for any case, we tried putting in a big play button that is floating all the time at the bottom, so you don't have to really think about when you come first time into the game, you don't have to think about deciding which level I'm gonna choose. You just tap play, and yeah, that's worked surprisingly well.
Okay.
Very, very simple, but I guess very effective.
Okay, thank you very much. And next question is, you said we might need to test out of ideas and make tons of prototypes to find a great hyper-casual game idea. So what would you advise small teams with low budget who can constantly make ads and prototypes?
My advice would be to really be picky with ideas. and that's what we're finding out as well, because when I showed the icons of how many hyper casual ideas we tested, we would rather see less games made until we again make something great. So try to be as selective as possible with your ideas. Try to be as selective as possible. Rather discuss 20 ideas and filter out one really good one that you all think is great, and definitely try to really try to go into details when discussing ideas as well, because sometimes when discussing and sketching and comparing ideas, you actually say, okay, there's a problem. You don't want to spend a couple of months prototyping. You want to have as many questions answered before a line of code is written. That we had issues sometimes in the past when we jumped into idea before actually knowing exactly what we want to do, and developer did something and it was kind of okay, but then it started, what if we try this, what if we try that, and it can really extend the development. So it would be wiser to just have another day of brainstorming and just specify more in detail what we actually want to achieve or create. Okay. It doesn't need to be millions of games needed to create it to get something good. Just be selective, be really selective.
Okay, thank you very much. And next question is, how much do you spend on average for an ad campaign?
Okay, good question. We test with our partner, Crazy Labs, and my estimate is around $1,000 on a. Yeah, sorry, I'm talking about A/B tests now. Yeah, on the campaign, I would say less. I would say half less, something like that. But I'm not sure. I don't see all the numbers. But we usually test for a couple of days, couple of days of a campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we don't directly do campaigns on Facebook, but we have an interface of our partner, Crazy Labs, where there's a dashboard where we actually just see the CPI or CTR numbers, and retention, usage as well, stuff like that. But we don't see the actual numbers in money.
Perfect. But I think that answered also the last question. Mm-hmm. And now we don't have any more questions, but I'm gonna ask like small question before, and we'll just wait a little bit if somebody else has some last questions. Yeah, but before we wrap up this masterclass, this lecture, I would like to ask, like, where can maybe people find you? Where can they contact you if they, or maybe where can they see your work or anything else?
Okay. You can always contact me on mail, miha@trickytribe.com. Whatever questions you have, just shoot away, and I'll try to explain it, try to help you for homework or what other questions you have. My artwork, I have an Instagram where I create stuff in free time, but I'm not all these games that I'm working on. I don't really have a portfolio set up at the moment. Yeah, but I am on Instagram, and I'm following a lot of great artists, and yeah, as I've shown, you can get a good idea for a game just browsing Instagram.
Okay. Thank you, Miha. Thank you for the presentation and for your insights and for all of the answers.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, and I think with this we can now wrap up this lecture. Thank all of you that came for this lecture, and so just few last words. The homework it will be until Saturday until 11. And if you're not in, you can go to like sloveniagames.com/game production masterclass and sign up for newsletter. Links are also like down in the description. You can also like join our Discord server where we post our like homeworks and have like some debates, and also have like some announcements. And yeah, that is that, and see you all next week.